Hello, everybody, and welcome to another topic of the week. So, first things first, standard preamble. Last week's topic, the budget of Sigmar, has been great. The response has been overwhelming. I love it. I am super excited about all the people who are participating, all the budgeteers, the people who are already posting. There's a lot of them. I didn't really aggregate all of their videos together because it's kind of too many different posts and different things going on. So instead, it's fortunately I don't have to, because on the PMP, the Google Plus community, for the people who are interested, there's a Budget of Sigmar tab, wherein if you post under that, then everybody can see exactly where you are with your particular Budget of Sigmar journey. If you're curious as to what I'm talking about, or would like to become a budgeteer and participate in our own little personal new tale of painters, the link for that, of course, as always, will be down below. I'm very excited about a lot of the forces I've seen being assembled so far. I was just working on my own. Here's my little chimera being worked on for my Tzeentchian Warriors of Chaos, which is going to be my Budget of Sigmar. And so I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic and amazing. And that'll go on for 6 months. And as I said last week, one of these videos, these Topic of the Week videos, every month will be dedicated to the progress everyone makes on the Budget of Sigmar. So what I'll probably do is a longer video there where I'll sort of review the posts everyone's done and point people toward the videos that people have done on their journey, all those sorts of things. So look forward to that. With that out of the way, with the preamble gone, let us then turn to this week's Topic of the Week. And I feel as though it's been a bit too long since I've done anything controversial with our Topic of the Week and inspired other people to put it out there in perhaps a bit of a dangerous way. So why not? Let's do it. And this kind of came about in a couple different ways. So because of the Budget of Sigmar, part of the challenge of which is to build an army cheaply on a budget, and that got a lot of people talking about price. And then Doom and Darkness is back from his trip, and he had a nice video about talking about some of the more expensive models that had come out while he was gone, Scarbrand and the Fortress and things, and basically saying that he thought GW prices are too high. And so that's going to be this week's Topic of the Week. Do you think Games Workshop's prices are too high? And you can restrict this down. Do you think the Age of Sigmar prices that have been released are too high? Are there particular kits that you think are too expensive? You can attack this however you want, as small or as large as you like. I have obviously made a video on this in the past. I made it in response to Once Bitten, who had asked about pricing and had sort of challenged me to make a video why I really do believe GW's prices are fair. And yes, I still do believe that. So if you want the short answer to my own query, it is yes, I think they're fine. Now let me unpack that a little bit, because chances are you're already getting ready to furiously type a response to me in anger. And that's okay. I understand that this is a very hot button issue. So first off, let me say I respect everybody's opinion on this. In the end, price is a very personal issue. That's one of the funny things about price. You can talk about it in market aggregates, but whether a price is too high for you, I can't argue with. It's almost like a feeling or an emotion. If you tell me if something makes you feel a certain way, I can't argue with that. It simply is. It is a priori true. If a price is too high to you, then it is. There's lots of different factors that go into that. The psychology of pricing is incredibly complex and way too big to go into in one of these videos. Maybe I'll do like a design video sometime about pricing, sort of a behavioral economics exploration of it. But for now, let's see if I can kind of cover briefly. To talk about why I think Games Workshop's prices are fair in detail, I'll link my previous video where I compare it to a lot of other miniatures manufacturers. You can see if that longer argument makes sense. But let me specifically address sort of what Doom and Darkness was bringing up. So what he brought up in his video was things like first of all, he's in Australia, New Zealand pricing, which admittedly is rough. So let me just say that right out of the gate. Like if you're in Australia, New Zealand, boy, I feel bad for you. That's I don't have much of a defense there. Their prices are high. I'm not sure I understand the conversion rate. I don't know why they're so high there. I really don't get it. Even even when like accounting for currency conversion, it doesn't really work. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. So I'm going to speak more about American pricing and that kind of world, just because I don't live in Australia, and like I said, I mean it is rough, and I think that there's a completely different reality when you live down there. All right, so let's talk about things like Scarbrand and the Fortress, and just the individual characters, knights, and things out of the Stormcast that he had pointed to. So first, Warhammer goods in general. So Warhammer, and in his video, he makes a comparison to silver, and he says, this fortress is basically the same as like 10 ounces of silver or something, which, you think about that and your brain kind of revolts. Silver, these little pieces of plastic shouldn't cost as much as silver. Silver, as he points out, is, well, first of all, it's a precious metal. Secondly, it has industrial uses as well as non-industrial uses, jewelry and such. It also has, a real value. There is a market to it. But that's exactly the point. It's a commodity. And that's why I think it's a terrible comparison. It doesn't matter. In the end, the hobby we have chosen to engage in here is something much closer to art or jewelry or something like that, the prices of which are almost completely detached from their production costs. One of the most frequent things I hear people talk about is how much these things cost to make. Who cares? Like, not to be too flippant about it, but it's irrelevant. That sets the basement for how little you can charge, but it doesn't mean anything. Okay. There's a lot of externalities in running a business like this, and that all has to be accounted for. But two, it doesn't matter, especially in the cases of the higher end things, which is what GW has come to realize, with things like Nagash and Scarbrand and this Fortress. None of those things are really needed to play the game. Let's take Scarbrand as an easy example, because he's the most egregious. Scarbrand is outrageously expensive. No disagreement. But he's also completely pointless. That is to say, no one watching this, no one in the world needs a Scarbrand. It's not a need. And if you want a Scarbrand, but you're unwilling to pay Scarbrand's price, who cares? Because there are 30 other good options for a Scarbrand, starting with the previous Bloodthirster kit, which is already half of Scarbrand's box, because his two sprues, one of which is the regular Bloodthirster sprues, which you can buy for cheaper, and through maybe no conversion at all, just call him Scarbrand, because he has axes and stuff, and if you really are a stickler for how he's armed, you can do that, or with a slight conversion do that. You could go buy a big Demon Prince and give him some different wings and call him Scarbrand. Well, now we're down way cheaper. You could buy any of 10 companies' knockoff Bloodthirster models, and there are a bunch, because he is a popular model for other companies to knock off, all of which are much, much, much cheaper, and you could call that guy Scarbrand, and then he's your own personal Scarbrand. You have done it yourself. You have the only Scarbrand like that. There's even enhanced psychological utility to it. So the point being, he is a complete luxury. There's no necessity to him at all. And so his price, they know that they are free to set the price higher because he's a complete luxury. Okay? So if you self-select into the group that you feel you need a legitimate Scarbrand for whatever reason, then that's it. You have to pay the price. If you decide that the Lexus is the only car for you, when a Honda Civic would also work perfectly well, you don't get to complain about Lexus's price. You have self-selected into the Lexus. Okay? So it's the same thing there. And the other, so that's point the first. I guess that's a really long-winded one. But the other reason I think GW's pricing is ultimately pretty fair, especially in the case of these newer models, is they are all very copyable, doable from cheaper things. Most of my Stormcast army which is big. I have every character. I've probably got 50 plus Stormcast, and I would bet I spend, I have $200 on the whole thing, just because I converted a bunch. I bought things cheap off bit sites. I got it out of the box sets, out of the Age of Sigmar box sets, and just did some conversions. And that's honestly the challenge GW is wrestling with. There's still a lot of this stuff available on the secondary market or from bit sites or cheaper. You really don't have to go to GW as much, at least, again, in the US. I do not know the situation in other countries. I don't know if you have as easy access to it. If you do, this could radically change all of my points, and that would be completely legitimate. So the ease of access to this product is honestly pretty low, and the model count needed for Age of Sigmar went way down from the previous incarnation of the game. So you can still get those old models out of secondary markets or bit sites at the cheaper price that was fair in the 8th edition world. So right now we're actually in this weird little loop, I would suppose, in between editions where it's honestly cheaper than ever to play. Between being able to fish secondary armies off eBay, getting cheap things on bit sites, and so on and so forth, you really can get away at a very reasonable cost. So that's why I think ultimately the pricing of the game is fair. Now, you might push back on me and say, well, Vince, you just cheated. You said GW's prices are fair, and then gave me 10 examples of buying things not from GW. Agreed. I did do that. So you got me on that one, clever viewer. But I think that that's all part of the thing, because in the end, if you want to get the thing from GW, and that's the only thing that works, that's okay. I think it's all right that those occasional things you buy are more expensive because you have the ability to supplement. It puts me in mind of meatloaf. I know that's a weird example, but come with me. Meatloaf, the kind of whole idea of it is it's for like meatloaf originated when people didn't have as much money for food, and food was a much bigger percentage of your sort of income, and you wanted to have meat as a meal. You didn't have much meat. You didn't have enough meat to actually make a meal out of. So you took meatloaf and you added non-meat filler, right? Breadcrumbs and cheese and onions, whatever. You put in a bunch of other stuff. You just pack it in with cheap stuff, effectively, to turn your small amount of meat into a large amount of meat. And honestly, I think the meatloaf tactic, not the bat out of hell singer of I would do anything for love, but the food item, is your best tactic when it comes to, attacking this hobby. Because you can get those individual kits that you really like. You go get them at 20% off or something like that. Again, in the US, there's any of 10 sites you can go buy this stuff for 20% off from. And honestly, I am much more willing to support my friendly local game store, which offers me 20%, than GW, because ultimately GW will still get their money. My store paid them for the product, and I get to support my store, which I like, because they're a great store that builds community and all that. And then you can, to add that filler, you can go to the secondary places. I think in that regard, everybody kind of wins at least as much as possible in this scenario, and it is as close to fair as I think we can get. So that's my very long-winded, that's a long topic of the week. Holy crap, I was just looking at the time. But that's my feeling on it. But there's a lot of other ways to attack this from. Maybe you feel that the kits necessary for your army don't have good secondary options or don't have good places you can get them, and hence the prices are too high. That's fair. Let me hear about that. Maybe you feel that I am a complete and total lunatic and this is completely off the mark and their prices are way out of the box. That they are not luxury goods, these are essential items, or whatever your point happens to be, and you want to completely counterpoint me. I love it. I very much welcome a vigorous discussion on this, and please understand that I am attacking this from my own personal perspective and point of view. I don't mean disrespect. As I said at the top, pricing is very personal, and if you feel differently from me, I completely respect you on that, and I'd love to hear about it in the comments or in your own response video. So, controversial topic this week, GW pricing. So, there we go. Look forward to all your great responses. I will also link Doom and Darkness's video below, so you can go check that out too, the video that sort of inspired me to do this. And I will see you all next time.